Welcome back to Vision in the Valley. So, you should know by now that I have a real love for nature and that I am crazy aware of all kinds of blessings and lessons in everyday life. This is essentially what this podcast is all about, right? So, in honor of that, I want to share another message about butterflies. There is another beautiful butterfly called Alcon Blue, with the males looking more like their namesake. They have a silverish blue to like dark blue wing. Anyway, I spent time describing the many stages of the caterpillar and then the beauty of isolation leading to the freedom of a new butterfly perspective, a new vantage point. I did that in that previous episode. Today's butterfly doesn't dangle from the twig that supplies the food. This butterfly is different. This one is deceptive, cunning, and full of trickery. Where shall I begin? So, the female butterfly lays her eggs on the hosting plant, which is going to be the food source during this stage, just like the other butterflies. But in this case, the plants are close to the ground and not up in trees in comparison, right? This is important because this species needs to be close to the ground. It needs to be close to the next host. After a few weeks, they drop off to the ground. The caterpillars have learned how to mimic the sounds of the queen ant in distress. Yeah, you heard me. I also learned that the ants are tricked by the larvae's pheromones, right? So there's a chemical release that also tricks them into thinking that this caterpillar is actually an ant. And in yet another observation, research says that the juice liquefied by the larvae is so enticing, like honeydew, that the ants are just attracted to it and bring it home. In any case, you get the picture. No matter how it happened, maybe it's a variety of all three things, but the op is in the building, y'all, and it was brought in by your own team, an extension of yourself, if you will. Now, the ants don't just take it in, it takes it to the core, to the center of the nest. That supports the queen theory, right? If it's the queen you're thinking you have, you're going to get the queen back to the center of the nest. If you think about it, what's so amazing about the ants is that they move in such an orderly fashion. They're self-disciplined and they're all about the business. It kind of makes sense to me that if they found an ant, they think it's another ant, right? And this ant is out of place or injured or unnurtured, that because they're all about the business, they're going to get it back to the best place that it can get the nurture and care that it deserves. They're not selfish that way, right? They're all about the business and the order of the entirety of that nest, that unit. It was simply out of place, but now we're bringing it back home. But are they so about the business that they don't see what is among them right in front of their own eyes? But okay, I digress for right now. So again, the caterpillar has been taken deep within the heart of the colony, surrounded and outnumbered. But not only is this caterpillar unbothered, they thrive. They continue their manipulation by continuing to mimic the pheromones of the ants. And they're fed and they're cared for, and they increase their weight by 100 times. How do they do that, you ask? By feeding on the ants that have been taking care of them. The ants' kindness has been exploited, and they are sleeping with and protecting and nurturing the enemy. And get this, the life cycle is longer with this species compared to the monarch I spoke about earlier. In fact, this protective state allows a life cycle to last up to 23 months underground. You may not know a whole lot about butterflies, but I know you already know that's a long time. Just so that you know, the average lifespan when you're talking about butterflies is measured in a few weeks, and even in some instances, a few months. But 23 months is almost 2 years, y'all. How many generations of ants have been attacked by this one parasite? When the butterfly is ready to meet the world and start the cycle all over again, it simply crawls out of the nest. Mic drop. Listen, I believe the butterflies are no longer even emitting that chemical, those pheromones. But instead, I think the ants are just so stunned to see the boldness, and they're just stuck in awe and don't attack on that last exit because their mouths are just left hanging open. They're like, what in the world is among us? What have we been feeding? What have we been nurturing? What have we been sleeping with? What have we been protecting? The ants are probably like, I heard about this kind of thing. I heard about this kind of manipulation, but I just can't believe we just let that happen again, right? Same old trick. And how did I fall for it? It's just too much. It's too much like what we do ourselves, right? What happened here? So as I learned all about this, I started to group this misbehavior, right? I said the first group was that the ants were tricked and manipulated and exploited. And then to pour salt on wounds, they were dismissed and abandoned. The third group was the life cycle thing. It really got me. The life cycle could have been over sooner had it not been nurtured and cared for by the colony. It reminded me of my breakthrough in season 6, the thing that I was nurturing in the core of my heart, in the inside of me, nurturing the very thing that would keep me from believing in God. And lastly, I want to talk about this impacting multiple generations. When that caterpillar is brought into the colony by the ants, there are several generations of ants that will suffer from the enemy being on the inside. That's huge. That is essentially what generational curses is all about. That the thing that was brought close to the network, inside of the home life, it stayed there even after the one who brought it in has gone. And the next generation of ants had to live under that. And then the generation after that had to live under that. So it's almost like if they could talk, they could say, well, you know what, we've seen this before. But they signal and talk in the way that they do. But I make fun at the end about like the ants, they don't attack this butterfly. The butterfly walks out of the nest. But I'm sure it's like how we feel, like your mouth is like, did we just let that happen? Did we just let that happen? That is too funny to me. And there are so many lessons in that. This species exists because that's just how God planned it. And I believe that even moments like this were on his mind when he sanctioned it. We are a lot like those ants. We move around very mechanically, all about the business, putting things in order. And sometimes when you do that, you don't observe what's really happening in front of your face. Right? That's so good. The difference is that the ant will have to learn and will have to evolve. They'll have to adopt new behaviors to protect themselves from that trickery of the enemy. And I guess it's not that different from what we are going to have to do as well. But we are given a different kind of lesson. We're taught lessons about bringing the enemy close to our heart, about bringing inside and caring for what is killing us. Like we talk about this. We are led by the Holy Spirit. So even when it's enticing us from one form of a pull or another, even when our senses tell us that it's delicious, like honeydew, the Spirit intervenes. My goodness, the ant is still teaching us lessons. And I'm so thankful that our God is that intentional that he would use anything from an ant to a butterfly to teach us and bless us. I can't wait to talk with you soon.